So I have of course been away from the channel for just over 1 week now, but we are now 10 days into the transfer window. And I would say Manchester United have started off relatively strongly. Matheus Cunha is a done deal, he will join the football club, and it feels like Bryan Mbeumo is going to be the next player. That means that Bruno Fernandes is likely going to be a central midfielder next season, so what we need to do is find him the ideal partner. That partner needs to be tall, strong, athletic, but of course we always demand technical ability as well. So let's take a look at some options. Now, for the purpose of today's video, we are going to ignore some of the obvious players. So your likes of Adam Whartons, your Balabers, your Edisons, your Metchers. We're going to ignore those guys and actually focus on players that I believe would all cost under £50 million each. In fact, in the case of some of them, you could actually get a few of these guys in one summer and it really wouldn't cost you very much. So the first player that we are going to talk about is 24-year-old Argentinian Enzo Barrenechea. Now, you will see on all the graphics today that we've got an Aston Villa badge next to his name, and that's because he's currently contracted to Aston Villa, but all of the stats are actually from last season when he was playing with Valencia. But, you know, that's besides the point. Anyway, what do you get with Enzo Barrenechea? Well, for me, you get actually a player who could become a modern-day number 6, someone who actually plays as a solo pivot. What we are talking about here is a technical player, a ball-playing player, and a passer. How many times have we spoken about the need for a passer at Manchester United? Enzo Barrenechea could be that, and I think he would be very, very cheap, to be honest, this summer. What you're getting with Barrenechea is an excellent scanner, someone who anticipates and reads space very well. His spatial awareness is very good, always checking his shoulders, assessing the situation, so that when he receives the ball, he can play very quickly. In terms of when he is playing, very two-footed, and I love to see that in a central midfielder. Someone that can spray passes to both sides of the pitch with both feet is very, very useful in the heart of the pitch. And I think also his ball striking in general is very good. Very good. He is just, what I would say is, he feels like a La Liga central midfielder. And we all know what that means, right? We've all seen your team facing a Spanish side in European football. They play football in a different way. And young Enzo here is a player who fits that mould. Two-footed, very technical, a very good passer. Someone who wants to keep the ball moving. Not necessarily someone who's going to drive with the ball over 50 or 60 yards. That's not really his game. He's not a strong ball carrier at this moment in time. He is a pass-first midfielder. But that could be what Manchester United need. We know that we use this system with width provided from the two wing-backs. Having two central midfielders in Barrenechea and Bruno Fernandes, who can both play long ball football, you know, who can both switch to play, ping the ball out to the other side, that could be very, very useful for us. The other good thing with the Argentinian is his defensive coverage. Now, I wouldn't say he is a ground eater, but he is certainly a mobile midfielder. Someone who gets about the pitch pretty well. I've been impressed with his athleticism in the centre of the pitch, and someone who screens in front of the back three, which I think can be quite important. So he's not necessarily a player that is going to go out and put out fires, you know, in the left wing-back position or in the right wing-back position. He's not necessarily a channel defender. But if you want someone to defend just in front of your defenders, in front of your centre-backs, this guy could be your man. I think he's quite good in 1-versus-1 situations. He's been quite an effective defender in the past 12 months. And from what I've seen, what he's added to his game is a bit more tenacity, a bit more bite, a bit more spring to his actions off the ball. Now, I still don't know that he is a defensive midfielder. You know, he's not a specialist ball winner, in my opinion. But I do think defensively he is quite capable. And in a system that is backed up with 3 centre-backs behind him, I think this could really suit him. So I think Barrenechea is an excellent option this summer. Now, the next option on the list is 23-year-old French midfielder Lucien Agoume, who currently plays his football for Sevilla. And if Barrenechea was not a ground eater, not a dual-willing specialist, this man is. Agoume is a ball-winning midfielder. And what you will notice when you watch this guy, you know, I recommend you go watch him. What you will notice is he is a long-legged midfielder. And the reason that's so important is because in the midfield, it can be quite tricky. There are lots of players in the centre of the park, players that want to take you on in the middle, players that want to overload you, of course, as well. What you need sometimes is the ability to stick out a long leg to stop the opposition getting past you. You know, that is the job as a ball-winning midfielder, to make sure the opposition don't get past you. And Agoume is actually really, really good at doing this. He uses his frame very well. He just has these long legs which make you a dream player or a nightmare player to play against in five-a-side football. You know those players that you try and dribble past, but their legs are just always there. You feel like you've beaten the player, but they still tackle you somehow. That's Lucien Agoume. He is that sort of player, long-legged midfielder who is going to disrupt the opposition. And that's definitely what United need alongside Bruno Fernandes. Importantly, he also brings on-the-ball quality as well, but I wouldn't say he's a specialist. You know, he is not someone who's going to completely dictate the tempo of a game at this stage in his career. He's not an orchestrator on the ball. He's not someone that you run your possession plays through, in my opinion. You know, he's not overly expansive. He's not going to drive forward with the ball either. But overall, I think he's pretty competent in possession, very comfortable, and very good at protecting the ball. So not necessarily press resistance in the sense that he's going to drop a shoulder and spin past someone and drive through the pitch, but in terms of protecting the ball, looking after the ball, keeping the ball moving in the middle, I think he could be a very good player. And perhaps that works for United, with Bruno Fernandes being the more expansive player who is given that license to express himself, to take risks. Perhaps what you need next to that is a safe player, someone who protects the ball, who looks after the ball, keeps it ticking over. Agoume could be that. Now, the next player on the list is a player that OG channel members will be very familiar with, because we were talking about him 2, 3, maybe even 4 years ago now. I'm of course talking about 24-year-old French midfielder Manu Kone, who is currently playing his football for Roma in Italy. Now, like I said, we've spoken about this guy many times in the past. Right now, Kone is probably the best player he's ever been, right? He's developed over the past few seasons into this complete dominating central midfielder. And the good thing about Kone is he's added a lot to his game while still keeping his fundamentals. And his fundamentals have always been being an amazing dribbler and ball carrier in the middle of the pitch. I would say he's added an element of press resistance in the first phase as well, which is very important. But Kone's best football comes when he is facing forward, when he is able to take on opposition central midfielders and drive through the heart of the pitch. United have been crying out for this for a long time. We don't have central midfielders that can drive. You know, Ugarte, Bruno Fernandes, Casemiro. They're not players to pick the ball up, take people on and dribble 30 yards. It's not what they do. Kone does. Kone does it very well, very effectively. And this is why I have always said he's not a 6, he's not a holding midfielder, he's a box-to-box midfielder. Because if you give him that license to get forward, he can cause a lot of problems for the opposition, a lot of problems driving into these spaces. And playing in a double pivot, that could be ideal. Not necessarily playing as a 6 who's got to hold position, but being given the license to sometimes go forward when Bruno Fernandes drops into that deeper position. Kone could be ideal for exactly that. I also think what Kone has done over the past few years is added to his game, particularly with his passing. To me, he looks like a much more competent passer and less of a selfish player. There were times in the past when he would dribble for the sake of it. He knew that he could take people on. He knew that he was better than most people on the ball, so he would take unnecessary risks and always look to take people on. I think we are starting to see that sort of removed from his game. There's still room for development, of course, but I think he's become a more selfless player, someone who looks to move the ball to his teammates more regularly. And his passing, particularly on the floor, incisive passes through the lines into the feet of a forward, have improved drastically. Kone is now a very good short passer, excellent at moving the ball into these positions. I spent my whole day yesterday watching him because he was the last player that I scouted for this video, and I was very impressed with the complete all-round package that he has become. Now, if I am to be negative about Kone just for one moment, I do have 2 slight concerns, and that is, one, whilst he is a good jeweler defensively, I am still slightly uncertain about his defensive instincts. Again, I don't think this is an anchor in midfield who sort of breaks up everything and screens in front of the defence. And the other thing would be that he is still quite one-footed. You don't really see him using his left foot too much, but at times that's okay because his right foot is so good. So yeah, I think Kone is another very decent option, and I think he would be really affordable. Now, the 4th player on this list is another affordable option for Manchester United this summer. It's 22-year-old Spanish midfielder Javier Guerra, who currently plays his football for Valencia. It's a Spanish midfielder. You get what you expect to get, technical ability, right? Guerra is very good on the ball, very comfortable on the ball. And the reason he's so good on the ball is because he does a lot of work before he even gets the ball. So let's say his centre-back has the ball in this position here, let's say Lisandro Martinez. What Guerra does is he scans constantly. His head is on a swivel taking in information. And what that means is that he knows where the opposition are, he knows where the space is, and he also knows where his teammates are. And the result of that is quick football. Intensity, a directness, an intent to the way that he wants to play. So when he receives the ball, he's not too interested in, just knocking it about. He's not a central midfielder who sits deep and sort of sprays passes left to right and keeps the tempo managed and ticking over. He's not that sort of player. Because he knows where the space is, he wants to attack the space. So this is not an anchoring midfielder. This is someone who, once again, wants to be given the license to move a little bit further forward. And Guerra is very good at doing that. The scanning work he does before he receives the ball allows him to express himself when he gets it. In terms of expressing himself, Guerra is expressive. He's a ball carrier. He's a dribbler, and a very, very effective one. Once again, Manchester United need this in midfield. We need a player who can pick the ball up, drive through the opposition, and hurt teams. Guerra can do exactly that. And what happens when you have a player like this, someone who picks the ball up and drives, is it draws the attention of the opposition, right? You know, midfielder number 1 has to come over to try and stop him. But if he's being dribbled past, then it might take a second central midfielder as well. If you've got 2 midfielders on Guerra, that's going to open up room for someone else to receive the ball. And that's why these ball-carrying, dribbling profiles are so important. Not just in the middle of the pitch, but across the pitch. You need these players in your team. Players that can take the ball on, move the ball forward, and ask questions of the opposition. And I think Guerra does exactly that, which is why he could be a very useful player for United. The only thing I will just say about Guerra is that it feels like we're at a really important stage of his career right now. Right now, I don't know that he is a specialist in one position. I think he could play in the 10, but he's not a true 10. I think he could be a box-to-box midfielder, and there's also a chance perhaps he could drop deeper into a pivot role, although I'm not too sure. That is the only question mark over the signing. He is without doubt a very good player, someone that would instantly improve Manchester United because of the attributes that he would bring to the midfield. But when you don't know his role, his exact future role, is that a good thing or a bad thing? It could be a good thing because it allows us to shape him into what we want him to be, but it also could be a bad thing because it means he's not currently an expert in one position, if you see what I'm saying. But I do think Guerra is a very good option for Manchester United. If you're trying to raise the floor with physical quality and technical quality, Guerra is a very good option. To me, he feels like a proper Premier League midfielder. Now, if a proper Premier League midfielder is what you want, then why not sign from the Premier League and turn to 23-year-old Belgian midfielder Amadou Onana? You will probably remember us talking about him last summer when he was at Everton. He made the move to Aston Villa, but he doesn't really feel like a key player for them just yet, and Aston Villa are in trouble financially. They need to sell players. Onana could be a player that you try and go for. You tempt them to see if they would be willing to sell. Now, a lot of people are going to look at Onana and say, I don't want him because he's just a big, physical, dueling midfielder. And for starters, yes, he is that. He is one of the best dueling players in the Premier League. On the ball, off the ball, he wins every duel. He dribbles past people well, he carries past people well, but he also doesn't get dribbled past. 1 versus 1 defensively, very strong. Brilliant big upper body, he's tall, he leans on players, but also, once again, incredibly long legs which just sort of hook the ball away just when you think you've got past him. Add on to that the fact that he is brilliant in the air, one of the best players in the Premier League. You're absolutely right. He is a dueler. He is a specialist at winning the ball back for his team. However, that doesn't mean he can't do anything on the ball. I think his passing game has always been underrated, particularly his longer passing, which again is key in this system. You need to find those wing backs. So I think Onana could bring something to United in that sense. The other thing he can bring, like the other guys, is ball carrying ability. Onana isn't a 6 who just sits in front of his defence. He wants a box-to-box midfield role. He wants to be given this licence to move further forward, like he's done for Villa at times this season. And again, I think in Manchester United's current system, with the 3 defenders behind, 2 central midfielders, I think there is going to be that freedom next season. I think we'll see moments where Bruno Fernandes goes into this space here, and we see new midfielder playing this deeper position, but there will also be moments where Bruno Fernandes will drop deep. We know that he likes to get on the ball whenever he can, and it will allow this midfielder to move further forward. There will also be certain moments in certain games where we play with a double pivot. So what this midfielder needs to be is complete, a well-rounded profile. And Onana, of course, ticks that box. The only concern with Onana is that whilst he is good on the ball, he's not a specialist with his passing. I wouldn't say he's the most incisive player. I think he's underrated with his passing, but he's still not, Sergio Busquets on the ball, right? He's not that sort of player who's going to, again, dictate attacks, orchestrate attacks, and control a team in possession. He's not that sort of player. If you want that sort of player, you don't go for Onana, or you do go for Onana and you sign someone else as well. Regardless, what I will say is if you want to improve your football team, and you're currently Manchester United manager, Onana is a player that you look at, because physically, he is miles better than anything we've got. His physical level is an absolute joke. His athleticism, he's a ground-eating midfielder, puts out fires all over the pitch, dominates both boxes, which is huge, not just in open play, but also set pieces. Onana instantly improves your football team physically, which is very important, but also, technically, I think he's underrated. So once again, watch him. So yeah, that is 5 central midfielders that I believe Manchester United should be watching this summer without talking about the obvious names that everyone has been talking about for the past 6 months. Now, if you want to see more in-depth videos on any of these players, please let me know in the comments down below, because I love watching all 5 of these. I want to watch more of them. So basically, just let me know which player you want more information on, and I'll do a video on it. Apart from that, for today, for now, I think we're finished. That's a brief overview of each player, what they would bring to Manchester United, and why they should be on the shortlist. So, yeah, that's that. Thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this video. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.